Good morning, good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to our service this morning. Glad you are able to join us and be with us, even if it's via Zoom. Let us begin our service. For those of you who have your books, we're on page 70 with the singing of Pitchuli Shari Tzedek.
Pitchuli Shari Tzedek, Ava Modeya. Pitchuli Shari Tzedek, Ava Modeya. Zehayom Adonai, Nagila v'nis michavo. Zehayom Adonai, Nagila v'nis michavo. Pirchuli Shari Tzedek, Ava Modeya. Pirchuli Shari Tzedek, Ava Modeya.
Page 75. May the one whose spirit is with us in every righteous deed be with all who work for the good of humanity and bear the burdens of others, and who give bread to the hungry, who clothe the naked, and take the friendless into their homes. May the work of their hands endure, and may the seed they sow bring abundant harvest. We continue with the singing of Matovu.
Matovu, Matovu, Alecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Va'ani berochastecha, Ahuvitecha, Eshtacha v'elecha kodshecha, V'yiratecha, Adonai ahavti, Me'on bitecha, Umekam mishkan kevodecha, Mishkan kevodecha, Matovu, Matovu, Alecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Mishkenotecha Yisrael.
Let us continue our service now on page 86. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to engage with words of Torah. O Adonai, our God, let the words of Torah be sweet in our mouths and the mouths of your people Israel, so that we, our descendants, and the descendants of your people Israel may know you by studying your Torah for its own sake. Blessed are you, Adonai, who teaches Torah to your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, hamelamed Torah le'amo Yisrael. Let us continue now on page 108. Those of you who are able, please rise as we continue with the Barchu.
Baruch hu et Adonai ha'mevorach. Baruch Adonai ha'mevorach le'olam va'ed.
Praise Adonai, to whom praise is due forever. Praise be Adonai, to whom praise is due now and forever. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom uvorei et hakol. Hameir la'aretz v'ladarim aleha barachamim, uvtuvo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid, Ma'aseh v'heshit. Marabuma sacha Adonai kulam b'chokma asita, malach haaretz kinyanecha, titbarach Adonai Eloheinu al shevach ma'aseh yadecha, ve'al me'orei or she'asita yafaruch hasela, or chadash al Tzion ta'ir, v'nizkechu lanu mehera le'oro, baruch atah Adonai yotzer ha'me'orot. In the middle of page 113, love your neighbor as yourself, you said, and light blinded we saw that inner and outer worlds are one, as you are one. You spoke and we wrote. We reached for you down the centuries, your light moving beyond us. As we climbed, fell back, and climbed again, your Sinai of life. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher ba'amo Yisrael be'ahava. We continue with the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. Please be seated, and we continue on 116 with Ve'ahavta.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha v'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher nohi mitzavecha hayom alevanecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibartam v'shivtecha bevetecha u'lechtecha v'aderech u'v'shachvecha v'kumecha u'kashartam leot al yodecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'ketavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'v'sharecha leman tizkaru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hiyitem kedoshim lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim l'hiyot lachem lelohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Bottom of page 120. From Egypt you redeemed us, freeing us from bondage. For that your beloved sang praise, exalting you. Your dear ones offered hymns, songs, praise, blessing, and thanksgiving to you as sovereign, the living and enduring God, high and exalted, great and awesome. God ever humbles the proud, raises the lowly, frees the imprisoned, redeems the afflicted, helps the oppressed, answering our people when we cry out. Praise to God Most High. Blessed is God and deserving of blessing. In great joy, Moses, Miriam, and Israel responded with song to you, all of them proclaiming,
Mi kamocha bo'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot, o seifele, nora tehilot, o seifele. Shirach harasho shebechu ge'ulim, Leshimcha asafat hayam, Yachad kulam, Hodu v'himlechu ve'amaru. Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch, לעולם ועד. צור ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, ובדקנו מך, יהודה וישראל. גואלנו, אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאה ישראל.
Page 124, we rise for the tefillah.
Adonai, שפתי תפתח, ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leo. Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'koneh HaKol, Ve'zocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, U'mevii Gula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava. Melech Ozer, U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol atah, Rov le'oshia, Mashiach Haruch Modit Hagashem, Mechachel Chayim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somek Nofilim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato Leshenei Afar. Mi kamocha ba'al gevurot, umidu melech, melech memit u'mechayeh, u'matzmiach Yeshua. V'nemanata l'hachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol.
We remain standing for the Kedusha on page 130.
Nekadesh et shemcha ba'olam, keshem shemakti shemoto b'shmei marom, kakatuv al yad neviecha, v'karazei el zeh ve'amar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevot, Melech haaretz kevodo. Adir, adirenu, Adonai, Adoninu, Mahadir Shemecha b'chaaretz. Baruch Kivod Adonai Mimkomo. Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu hu Malkeinu, hu Moshiinu v'hu Yashmi'enu, berachamav leinei kochai. Ani Adonai Elohai Tzion, Lador Vador, Hallelujah. Lador Vador Nagid Godlecha, Unetzag Nesachim Kedusharcha Nagdish, Veshevchach Eloheinu, Mipinu Lo Yamosh, Le'olam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please be seated, and we're continuing on page 132. The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat. Observing Shabbat throughout the ages is a covenant for all time. It is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day God ceased from work and was refreshed. Page 134, Kacheno.
Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Ritzei v'Menuchatenu, Kachenu b'mitzvotecha, V'teinechakenu b'toratecha, Sabenu b'tuvecha, V'samchenu b'shuvatecha, V'tahir lebeinu le'avdecha be'emet, Ve'anchilenu Adonai Eloheinu, Be'avuv ratzon Shabbat kodshecha, Ve'anuchu ba'Yisrael mekadshei shamecha, Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
The top of page 137. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer. Wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored in all lands, you are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai she'otcha levadcha v'yirah na'avod. On page 138, Modim anachnu lach, she'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu le'olam va'ed. We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai, our God, and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one whose mercies never end, O compassionate one whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. For all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shemcha u'lecha lehodot. Page 140, a prayer for peace. Grant peace, goodness, and blessing, grace, kindness, and mercy to us and to all your people, Israel. Bless us, our Creator, all of us together, through the light of your presence. Truly, the light of your presence, Adonai, our God, you gave us a Torah of life, the love of kindness, justice, and blessing, mercy, life, and peace. May you see fit to bless your people Israel at all times, at every hour with your peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. A few minutes of private silent prayer.
Say shalom in Roman, Ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Page 253, prayers for healing. We pause for a moment to pray for all those who are suffering physically, emotionally, and otherwise from this horrendous coronavirus. Those who are okay but are still frightened and worried about what is going to happen next, whether they'll be able to get their vaccines easily and without too much bureaucratic hassle. We pray for all those who are taking care of those who are ill. We pray for all those who have been traumatized by recent events. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. Mishaberach avotenu ve'imotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, ve'Yaakov, Sarah, Rachel, ve'Leah, hu yivarech et hacholim. May we mention in particular members of our congregation who need an extra prayer at this time, and I mentioned Ralph Einstein and Terry Neese and Stuart Tauber and anyone else whose name I was requested not to mention. May all of them have an easy and quick recovery. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit. And let us all say amen as we sing together.
Mishaberach avotenu, mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu, mekor habracha leotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
And we offer a prayer of thanksgiving on behalf of those who are feeling better. May the one who has bestowed goodness upon us continue to bestow every goodness upon us forever. I had mentioned very quickly in our weekly e-blast and spoke a bit last night about clothing, because this week's Torah reading includes a very detailed description of the clothing, to use a fancy word, the vestments of the priests in the tabernacle in the wilderness. We all know that we are sending a message by what we wear. And if people in authority, and the priests were in authority, they send that message out that they are distinct, that they are different, that they're not dressed the same as the rest of the people. We today try to take care of that by democratizing the way we dress and expect everyone, in a way, to be leveled, that there aren't differences. Yet in many aspects of society, there are. I think primarily the military, where you can tell by the uniform what the person's rank is and where that person is in society. And you can also tell, in many cases, but it's no longer so rigid, what a person is in society by the way that person dresses. If a person is wearing, however, it gets confusing, because if a person is wearing, let's say, a dark suit, you could think that person is a lawyer or a banker, or who else wears dark suits? Chauffeurs. So it gets confusing. And another example of how things get not confusing, but how things change, look at the significance of colors. It amazes me, for example, that today, 2021, the color of the Republican Party is red. You wear a red tie. Is that a neutral message? In a way it is, because new meaning has been bestowed upon that color. If we were to turn the clock back, let's say 50 or more years in England, and I'm not sure about this country, but I know in England, if you wore a red tie, that would mean you were a member of the Communist Party. Things change. Red was the color of the Communist Revolution. Red is also, and not exactly red because there's so many different varieties of red, the color of blood. And blood has always had an extremely important issue for us in the Jewish world, and I think for everyone. Our Torah reading talks about certain sacrifices that are supposed to be offered when the priests are ordained, when they are, and I'll use a modern American term, inaugurated, when they take upon their office, when they are given responsibility. Things have changed, and we no longer think of blood in such a ritual way, or maybe in two ways from a traditional perspective, we still do. The blood of circumcision, the blood when an animal is slaughtered for kosher purposes. And obviously there's blood when the animal is not a kosher animal, but I'm thinking in the terms of kosher food at the moment. Meanings change. Meanings have significance. The way we dress changes significantly. So for example, there would be those, if we were again, turn the clock back 50 or more years, if I were the rabbi in a Reform congregation, it would be expected that in leading services, I would wear a robe, or as some would say, a rabbinical robe. But there's nothing all that Jewish about it, except, for example, it distinguishes, meaning sets apart, the clergy from the congregation. We have our choir members wearing robes, and I think there's a very good reason for it. I don't know if that was the original intent, except people thought that's just the way you're supposed to do it, that everyone sort of looks the same, and we're not distinguishing those who are wearing fancier clothes from those who aren't. When we used to have, in my previous congregations, confirmation classes, and we do a confirmation class picture, everybody wore a robe, so everybody sort of looked the same. And in a few classes, if I think back, and I think of certain individuals in particular, there would have been quite serious competition among those 16-year-olds as to who had the fancier outfit. Now I'm getting back to the original topic of what we wear. We think of that as a luxury, and a luxury it is. For many people, it's not a luxury, it's a necessity. We, over the years at Temple Beth Israel, have collected clothing that is still in decent shape, that can be given to somebody else, things that maybe we have no use for anymore that we outgrew, but we can pass on to people who really need these things. And it's been made very clear to me that of all the items that are needed, one of the most significant, socks. Maybe we feel our old socks are things we don't want anyone else to have. Maybe there's a point behind that. But if you want to make a donation, go and buy a package of a dozen socks or what have you at some inexpensive store. It will make the world of difference for someone. All these issues are interrelated in one way or another. We can take the issue of clothing and turn it into a ritual question. We can take the issue of clothing and take it and make an ethical, social concern out of it. We can talk about the blood of the sacrifices as being a way that our ancient ancestors viewed things, and maybe we do and maybe we don't. But in many ways, and I'm picking up on our discussion of kosher meat and where do we get kosher meat for Pesach, if not for the rest of the year. But some people, all right, they just keep kosher over Pesach, better that than nothing. Where do we get kosher meat and how is it prepared? I honestly feel, I have said this many times. Have I lived up to my statement? No, but we shouldn't eat meat until we've seen with our own eyes an animal slaughtered and see the whole process. It puts it in a different context. In previous generations, we were very conscious of the fact that yes, God gave us the power, the authority to eat animals. I'm putting it very bluntly. We have that authority. It's not unlimited. There's certain things we can and cannot eat. There's a process. There are words that you're supposed to say, but there's a sensitivity as well. And I guess that is why, among other things, hunting for sport and just for sport is something that many of us feel very awkward about. So where have I gone this morning? In all directions, but in a way, it's all related to the priesthood, the tabernacle, the sacrifices, and the clothes. And may we keep in mind, there are people who are without food, yes, and there are people who are without clothes. And we had some examples. I just want to give one or more examples before I conclude. For those who are without jobs, there are many things you need in order to get a new job. And those of us who have automobiles and money for gas and decent clothes, maybe don't think about this. You have to be able to get to the interview, and you have to be able to have a vehicle. And if you have a vehicle, you have to put gas in it, and you have to have decent clothes to make a decent impression. It's still part of the way we think. So let us try to make this world a better place. And instead of putting our leftover items in the garbage, we can donate them, we can pass them on, we can help other people, we can translate ancient rituals into modern ways of making the world a better place. Thank you for listening. I look forward, by the way, I'm getting frustrated. I look forward to the day when we can be back in the sanctuary and I can give these provocative talks and we can have discussions afterwards. And I just want to share, we were talking before this service and I keep an appointment book. I write things out on paper. I know I'm still living in the 20th century, but I got out my appointment book for what we were doing exactly a year ago and a year minus a week ago and a year minus 2 weeks ago when all this started to affect us. And I am nostalgic for what we did. And I look forward to going back to a healthy Shabbat morning discussion in our sanctuary. So let us continue our service now, page 282. We rise for Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. A prayer before the Kaddish. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We remember recently departed members of our congregation, our families, and our friends. Let me mention Sophie Pollock, Lee Black, Martin Ross, Al Grossman, Norman Gross, Florence Haar, B. Einstein, Dolores Schuldinger. We remember those whose yahrzeits occur at this time: Shelva Novitsky, Hilda Ackerman, Milton Barsman, Fanny Ruth Bloom, Dr. Irvin Blumenfield, William Briefer, Joseph Ditton, Ethan Fishman, Charlotte Grafman, Bessie Herman, Louis Katz, William Libman, Nettie Leaf Mack, Emma Miller, Francis Miller, Frank Morse, Ida Newman, Etta Rose, Carl Rosen, Dorothy Rosenberg, Joan Rottenberg, Yetta Schwenk, Marvin Seif, Albert Shatner, Alex Tobe, Reuben Turner, Goldie Jean Turo. And for those of you who have additional names, say them to yourselves, say them out loud. May their memories be a blessing as we turn to page 294 and rise for the Kaddish. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabach. V'alma divrach cherutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon uvyomechon v'chayedechol bet Yisrael. V'gala ubizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba mevarach laolam olam almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitfa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei. V'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal Shmei dekucha brichu. La'ela min kol berchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechamata. Yamiran ve'alma ve'imru amen. Yehei Shlamat Rabba min Shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imroma. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. May the source of peace grant peace unto those who mourn and comfort the bereaved among us. And let us all say, amen. Please be seated, and I'm going to call on Alan Goldfarb for some announcements.
Thank you, Rabbi. Shabbat Shalom to everybody. Thank you, Kai, again for your beautiful accompaniment. This coming Monday, on March 1st, the BIW will be holding their meeting at 11 a.m. Via Zoom. And on Tuesday, March the 2nd, Rabbi Snyderman will be holding his Judaism class as usual at 11 a.m. and that's by Zoom too. Currently for Wednesday and Thursday, we don't have programs scheduled, but if we do, you'll see it on the e-blast. So check for e-blasts online. On Friday, please pick up your Shabbat dinners in the main parking area between 3 and 3:30. It is important that you get there on time. We would appreciate it very much. On Friday, the second section, we're going to have a program meeting at 1:30 via Zoom. The social hour will take place at 5 p.m. as usual, and we all look forward to that every week. It's very enjoyable, so tune in and enjoy. The Shabbat service will be held at 7:30 p.m. Again, that will be held by Zoom, but later on, you may see it again on YouTube or Facebook. And of course, on Saturday morning, we have our regular Shabbat service at 10 a.m. and that's by Zoom. And again, later on, if you wish, you can look at it on YouTube and Facebook. And as I say every single week, please, please wear your mask. And secondly, keep the social distance. Even though we are slowly getting our vaccinations, that doesn't mean that we're free to go ahead and do whatever we want at the present time. Think of yourself, think of your neighbors, think of your children and relatives. I want to wish everybody a good Shabbos. Have a good weekend, and we look forward to seeing you again at our Shabbat services, again on Friday evening and on Saturday morning. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Alan. Let us conclude with the singing of Adon Olam, page 321.
Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nira liyitna'asa v'kevta kol azai melech shemo nikra ve'achare kiklot hakol levado yimlok nora ve'hu haya ve'hu ve Vehu yeh b'tivara vehu echad ve'ein sheni lehamshilu lehakbira veli rishit veli taklit balos vehamithra vehu eli vechagoli v'tzur kivli b'eit sarah Vehu nisi umanus li manat kusi veyom ekra veyado afkid ruhi b'tishan v'ayira ve'im ruhi geviyati Adonai li velo iro.
May we all be blessed with a Sabbath of peace and happiness and good health and safety. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha, Yisa Adonai panav elecha, Yasem lecha shalom. Good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom.